George Zimmerman, the man from Florida who shot and killed 17-year-old Trayvon Martin a few years ago, is now deciding to auction off the gun that he used to kill Trayvon Martin. Now, he originally posted his auction on gunbroker.com. Zimmerman explained that the Justice Department recently returned the weapon, and he believed it was time to move past the firearm that he would otherwise put in a safe for his grandkids. Okay? In the auction description, Zimmerman calls the gun a piece of American history and makes multiple references to his perceived enemies, including B. Hussein Obama.
Okay, let's stop there for a second. I want to come back to the Hussein Obama nonsense in a second, but just think about what a monster this guy is. He's saying, well, I'm going to sell the gun that I used to murder the kid, kill the kid, from his perspective, right? And I'm going to make money from it, okay? But my other option was to preserve it for my grandkids so I could show them, this is the gun that I killed a 17-year-old kid with. I mean, what kind of a monster thinks that way? Like, even if you think Zimmerman was 100% right, and God help you if you do, okay, but you think, no, Zimmerman was following Trayvon Martin, and the cops told him not to follow him, but then magically Trayvon Martin decided to attack the guy with the gun when he had no gun. Okay, fine. Let's grant you all that for this second, right? Mm-hmm. And he wound up having to kill Trayvon Martin in self-defense, right? Is that still a thing you celebrate?
No, that's the best point out of this entire story. George Zimmerman is a pig, okay? And he's a pig for the reason that he continuously pours salt on the wound of the family members who are still suffering from the loss of Trayvon Martin, right? Even if you think he was right, which he wasn't, in shooting and killing Trayvon Martin, he's the motherfucker who went after Trayvon Martin and provoked that violent altercation. Trayvon Martin didn't go after him, he went after Trayvon Martin. But anyway, beside the point, even if you agree that what he did was self-defense, okay? Someone died, and it was someone's child, okay? And so why do you continuously, provoke these situations and get in the news with all this bullshit to add insult to injury to the family members? Have some compassion. No compassion at all. They don't care. They don't care about the suffering of this family. All he cares about is being in the press, getting attention, making money off of it. He's a disgusting pig. Anyway.
Like I said, if I got in a fight, and even if the other guy was totally wrong, and I had to shoot him, and it turns out it was a 17-year-old kid who wasn't armed, as I hope a moral and decent person, I would feel so bad about that. Even if I thought I was 100% right, I'd be like, oh man, I wish that fight hadn't happened. I wish I wasn't out there patrolling that night. I wish I'd listened to the cops who told me not to pursue him. I wish this, but I wouldn't keep the gun to show to my kids and grandkids, like, this is the one I killed him with. What kind of a monster thinks that? And if you support that monster, what are you?
Exactly. I mean, the fact that he's still gloating about what he did and how he's still emboldened by what he did is just terrible. This is according to the description that he posted. The firearm for sale is the firearm that was used to defend my life and end the brutal attack from Trayvon Martin. I am proud to announce that a portion of the proceeds will be used to fight Black Lives Matter violence against law enforcement. I mean, how unbearable is this guy? Ensure the demise of Angela Corey's persecution career, that's the prosecutor who went after him, and Hillary Clinton's anti-firearm rhetoric. Now, of course, this story did get some negative press, as it is right now, and gunbroker.com decided to take that auction down. In fact, if you go to the listing, here's what you see. Just says that the item is no longer in the system. They said that they have the discretion to get rid of certain auctions that they don't agree with, and I agree with them. I'm glad that they did that. However, Zimmerman was able to contact a different auction website called United Gun Group, and they agreed to post it, right?
Of course they did.
All right.
So let me jump in here again with going back to his statement about how some of the proceeds are going to be used. Okay, so I want to break it down a little bit. First, he says some of the proceeds will go to fighting against Black Lives Matter. You know what that means?
0%.
No, it means like 1%, 10%, whatever it is. But no, he's looking to make money, dude. And if you don't, but like the person who's gonna buy this gun, he knows that. He doesn't care. He's like, good, it's a twofer. I get to celebrate the gun that ended this black kid's life, and I get to make George Zimmerman rich. So the person buying the gun is in a real heavy competition with Zimmerman as to who's a bigger jerk, okay, to put it very, very politely, okay? So, and then onto who he's going to fight. First of all, I don't know if he purposely misspelled prosecution to persecution, okay.
Yeah, of course.
But Angela Corey's a Republican, not good enough.
Yeah.
How dare she charge me, right? And he's going after Hillary Clinton. What does she have to do with any of this, right? But to me, again, another enormously galling part is I'm going to spend money against Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter partly came out of the killing of Trayvon Martin because not because of what Zimmerman did, but because of the assumptions of the police in that case, where, and I've gone over this many times because it's so telling, where they immediately did a toxicology report of Trayvon Martin, the kid who was killed, but they didn't do it of the shooter, George Zimmerman. They immediately did a criminal background check on the black kid, unarmed black kid, lying dead on the ground. They did not do a criminal background check of the guy who shot him. Look at those assumptions. So what Black Lives Matter says is, please let our lives matter. We already know white lives matter. We already know other lives matter. Don't you think that 17-year-old kid, that his life should matter too? Or the 12-year-old kid, Tamir Rice, who was shot by the cops in 2 seconds when he had a toy gun and they didn't bother asking him if he had a toy gun.
Yeah.
His life should matter. And this pig comes in after killing Trayvon Martin, wants to make money off the killing, and then says, I'm going to spend some of that money to make sure no Black Lives Matter.
Look, the more I think about the story, and we covered every single aspect of that case, the more I think about it, and even though it's been years since that verdict was read, the angrier I get. Because when you really think about it, here's a guy who went after an unarmed 17-year-old, followed him around in a gated community while he was armed, right? And Trayvon Martin wasn't allowed to defend himself, right? So if I'm a black woman or if I'm a black person and I'm being followed around by an armed person, I'm not allowed to defend myself, right? I'm not allowed to fight back. I have to fucking stand there and take it. Like, how enraging is that?
Look, we're back again in the South where black people are being told, know your role, and you got to take whatever, white people or whoever else gives you, and you can't say anything about it. Don't even look at us the wrong way. We're back at Emmett Till, okay? And so I literally had a debate on our old current TV show with one of the presidents of a gun rights group, one of the largest gun rights groups in the country, Larry Pratt. And I asked him, so wait, let me get this right. You're saying the guy without the gun is not allowed to defend himself,
right? But
the guy with the gun can defend himself and shoot the other person and kill him. Yep. And he said yes. That's
the so-called justice system that we're dealing with right now.
And by the way, the right-wingers, racists, whoever love this system and get all high and mighty about it, the blacks are also American citizens. They also have Second Amendment rights. They can also carry around guns in a stand-your-ground state like Florida. And if you look at them funny, well, they might have to defend themselves too.
Yeah, now, but there's a difference in the way they get prosecuted.
Oh, believe me, they'll get prosecuted.
On that. Like, not at the moment, but we've talked about that before.
But I just want to clarify, because this is really important. Like, we're on the side of peace, okay? We're on the side of nonviolence. That's part of the reason why we're so mad at George Zimmerman. So we don't want any of that stuff. But this guy is such an idiot. He's it's almost, by the way, and this is not a crazy theory, it's almost like he's trying to provoke another incident because he loves the spotlight. He loves it, can't get enough of it, right? That's why he's actually had like 3-4 run-ins with the law since then. That's why he keeps going out there and provoking and talking about Barack Hussein Obama. And then he was in the press talking about how he painted a Confederate flag and sold that. He called President Obama an ignorant baboon. He tweeted a photo of Trayvon Martin's dead body. He's like pushing people and poking them and saying, I've got weapons, here you are. So don't do, and then here's the end of his statement in the auction for the gun. He ended the auction description with, si vis pacem para bellum, Latin for, if you wish for peace, prepare for war.
By the way, this is the guy who was caught up in multiple domestic violence cases. This is the guy who posted nude pictures of someone that he was supposedly dating who allegedly cheated on him. This guy has a history of violence, and we keep empowering him to carry out these acts of violence. And that's the part of it that drives me crazy. The fact that he literally got away with murder, and then on top of that, half this country keeps celebrating him as if he's some sort of hero. He's not a hero. He is a virus in this country. He disgusts me, and the fact that we celebrate him does not paint a great picture of this country, to be honest.
So I hope to God that we never hear of George Zimmerman again, that there's no altercations, no conflicts, no nothing. I want to be done with the guy, right?
We're not done.
But this is him publicly provoking everybody. A guy who does this so publicly, you think he's not going to do it privately? As Anna pointed out, he's already done it. He likes to pick on people who are powerless, who have no weapons, who are women, that are way less than him or smaller than him, et cetera. This is his pattern, right? And in fact, if you remember in his trial, he said he bragged about what a pussy he was and how he was a miserable failure in every fighting class he'd ever taken, right?
Yep. He had an MMA instructor testify on his behalf about what a wimp he is and how he can't fight.
Like, no, he said he was a pathetic fighter, okay? Yep. So that's why he needs a gun, et cetera. But so I hope this doesn't end poorly, but this guy is so looking for trouble. So it's hard to imagine that this story ends well. I hope, against hope, that it does. But this guy is looking for war everywhere, and I hope he doesn't get it one day.